go ahead and get the intro out of the way?
I don't really have an intro for this podcast.
Well, you're not going to Bailey Sarian it up and make up your own little theme song?
I mean, I already have a theme song. Some jackalope down in Davenport made it for me.
Oh, shit. I have no idea who that could have been.
Yeah, me neither.
All right. So we're here with Igor Stolarsky, and please tell me I didn't butcher that.
No, that's correct.
Awesome. Wonderful. Front of house tech recently for Seven Spires, and the man pulling the strings behind the Helix.
I will also lend my other credits. My main front of house gigs are for Animals as Leaders and Bear McCreary currently.
Holy crap.
Well, nice.
That's some really good... that's some really
I got the crew shirt.
Meanwhile, he complains about being called crew.
Hi, dude. You just pointed at Igor. Why didn't you point at me?
Oh, wait. Is this like the Brady Bunch?
Yeah,
right.
For me, you're pointing at him.
Oh,
it depends on whose Zoom thing you're on.
All right.
Yeah, you're on the bottom for me. Dustin. Dustin's always the bottom.
That's what you think. Wait till we go to England again. But,
You'll be the middle.
Yeah. All jokes aside, let's get into this. Igor, man, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm keeping it together as best I can.
Yeah. So how was the road recently with the Spires crew?
The shows and the people and everything were great. That was probably the physically sickest I've ever been on a tour.
Ooh.
And I managed to contract a stomach flu right at the beginning, like literally right before I hopped on the bus, was probably experiencing something similar to what all the people that ate lettuce recently are experiencing. And so that combined with 12 days of living on a bus, doing sound with 3 bands, was rough. It was not great.
Yeah, the golden rule of being on a bus, don't use the toilet.
And no pooping on the bus.
Yeah, you're allowed to use the toilet, you just can't poop in it. Anyway, there had to be some creative solutions to that. Regardless,
hang your ass out the window and here you go.
The tour itself was really good. I loved working with all of those bands because I was doing sound for Tulip, Spires, and Ad Infinitum. All just wonderful people, a great group of musicians and people to tour with. I really enjoyed mixing all of them. I just could have done without feeling like I was dying the entire time.
Oh,
Usually makes it a little better when you feel alive as opposed to dead.
Generally, yeah.
I can relate. Our first tour was St. October. We went to England, and about halfway through, we think someone at a festival gave us all COVID. And
Yep, that'll happen.
it was tough. We were lozenges, all the like dissolvables, all the...
Did you say lozenges?
Go back.
Oh, no, lozenges. My bad. I'm sorry.
But all the stuff we could do to try to get our voice back. I can only imagine, though, we having a stomach bug on top of that kind of stuff.
Well, actually, speaking of losing your voice, I mean, this was... So I've worked with Adrian, the lead singer of Seven Spires, and we worked with her for a while. And this is the first time, I think, not in just me working with her, but I think in her entire career, that she lost her voice to the point that she couldn't sing for a show.
Oh, no.
And it was brutal, and we had to we had to get creative with it, and because like I record all the shows that I do if I have the opportunity to, and so I had vocal tracks of her previous shows, and so we announced this to the crowds beforehand, but basically we put her on tracks, and she came on stage and she did what she could, and then basically mimed the rest of it, because they still wanted to do a show, and it was still like a live performance from that same tour. And so the very first day, she like did some of the growling vocals because that was all that she could do, and then like slowly with each passing show, she did more and more of the show as she felt up to it. And it was I think the first show she was like, "This is the weirdest fucking night in my entire career."
Thing.
Yeah, no, it was brutal, but it's just like you said, you do what you need to get through the show, right? And mad props to Adrian. She is one of the hardest working people I've ever met in
How many bands is she in?
God, she's like with 6 or 7 bands.
just all of them. And what is she is, and that's one of the reasons it was so surprising. She's one of the most durable vocalists I've ever worked with. And she's incredible. But again, yeah, she did what she needed to get through the shows.
Dan. So I had something on tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it now. Go ahead, Dustin.
So, sorry, as soon as you open your mouth, it comes out your ass. But
Usually, yeah.
so that's just a tough situation. I mean, we were lucky enough to the point where we still had somewhat of a voice. Like it's always easier to hit the harsh stuff before you can actually sing. But you know,
It was kind of the opposite for Monica. She was able to hit the cleans, but she couldn't do the growls.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's unusual. You for like vocals that do harshes, those usually come easier for the there.
So let's talk gear. What was your main go-to on that tour? Like you were doing monitoring, correct?
No, I'm front of house. So
God, I'm so sorry. Front of house.
yes. So,
How dare you demote him like that?
hey,
monitoring is one of the
nothing-
most important.
Yeah, nothing but respect to my monitor boys. I love my monitor engineers. So I've been for shows like that, and shows where either the band doesn't own their own stuff, or it's more convenient for me to bring my own. I recently bought a Behringer wing, and as much as I hate to give any credit to that company, unfortunately, in that price range, it is definitely the top of the class. And at this point, I would rather use that than even some of the older big boy boards like CL5s or QL5s, something like that. I have a gig coming up at the end of August that at first was looking like it was going to be on a QL5, but we managed to pare it down to where I can use my wing, and I'm very relieved regarding that. And then I have a little rack of outboard 500 series stuff and
Oh hell yeah!
a Neve MBT master bus transformer that I use. That
Nice.
is the whole thing up.
So everyone gets their own special preamp on that.
No, so I'm actually mostly using it for compression. So I do like having nice preamps and everything, but if I'm going to be spending slots to go to analog for something, the first place I always go is compression. I have a Pultec on there that I use on my master. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty much all compressors.
Gotcha, man. Analog. I'm sure having the wing and all the accessories inside the wing did make the job just a little bit easier.
Yeah, there are certain things because I've been, like, for example, I've mixed animals on an M32 for years, for basically the entire time that I've been with them up until the most recent tour. And
Nice,
it's
bud.
for, what it was when it came out, it was very impressive. Again, nothing competed in the price range. No one can, really compete with Behringer at that price range, probably because it's on slave labor. Regardless.
Yeah, they keep dropping their prices on things too. Like I remember the band, we were looking to upgrade from the XR18 to an X32, reaching out to these people on the used market. They want $1,400 for it. Then it dropped down brand new to like $800, and it's all
because the wing, they got all their distribution stuff and the manufacturing for the wing now, so those started popping out. So all of the X32 stuff is way cheaper now,
which is great for dudes like us. But
yeah. The stuff in the wing is definitely, like, the biggest thing for me is routing. It's so much more flexible with the routing than the X32 was. So especially for using all the outboard stuff, it's much easier for me to get stuff in and out of the board. Also just doing bus to bus routing because I really like subgrouping stuff, and so being able to subgroup, kick, snare, toms, cymbals, and then send all that to a drum bus, and then send all that to an instrument bus, which is separate from, vocals, and then sum all that into like a main. Stuff like that is, you can't exactly do that very easily with the M32. There are some trickery you can do to kind of make it happen, but the wing just supports it. The effects on it are pretty good. The compressors are fine. It's nice having a primary source enhancer, and being able to just like having side chain EQs and all the dynamics processors and stuff like that. That's super useful. But yeah, I'm still, like I said, I try to outsource as much of my compression as I can. For reverbs and stuff, I tend to go into my laptop and use Seventh Heaven or something like that. So, but it is still like, there are a lot of times. So for example, I had my main 1176 compressor that I use. So TSA dropped my rack in front of me at the airport.
Oh,
which is
no.
awesome. And I pull up to, pre-production, and it's like, oh, cool, my 1176 just doesn't work. It's just not compressing. So that, I had to lean on the one inside the board for that, because I only got the replacement for it after I got home. So 2 months of touring, and then...
I can only imagine how stressful that must have been. I mean, nothing's worse than getting ready to play or even set up for something, and then, surprise, my thing doesn't work.
Thankfully, with Animals, we've learned our lessons, and we have several days of pre-production before we start a tour. So at least I got my stuff in for subbing stuff out, and it didn't ruin anything, but it is a bummer, because it was just like, cool, that's just eating a slot I could use as something else,
Right.
And like, I had other modules at home I could have swapped in if I was at home, but this happened as I touched down in LA. So.
Well, always pack one in your underwear case now.
That's
No kidding.
what I'll have to do from now on.
I mean, even when we went on, we were so careful, because, I mean, we switched, at the time we were using like the Helix rack and the Kemper rack, and we moved to the HX Stomp stuff, and every piece of gear, we brought the X32 out with us, our in-ears, and we're just wrapping it in our clothes, just hoping...
We packed everything in suitcases.
Yeah. So, it was tense, because, I mean, we had someone...
Get the Pelican cases, or the Nanics. Nanics are more cost effective.
Well, see,
I got one of those.
It was
my
to
camera.
the point. It was to the point where we couldn't add anything else onto the flight, and
Really, even for like extra money, that's crazy.
it was a pretty packed flight.
Damn.
This was 2024, and I think they almost threw a fit about our bassist space, even though that was his oversized luggage.
Right.
It was an experience, but just on tying back into them dropping your case right in front of you, if something like that were to happen to us, that would have really put a harsh dent in the tour. But I can only imagine someone like you. I mean, I know it's just a compressor, but at the same time, it's like, that's such a proving part.
Thankfully, that was the only thing that actually was injured. If there were quite a few things in there that if I'd lost that entire rack, again, I would have figured out a way to make the show happen. But that's a lot of investments that I put towards making things sound good that would have just been not there, and that would have been frustrating.
Yeah. And rentals are unreliable and definitely not cheap.
Oh, that stuff can't. I could maybe find an MBT somewhere to rent. The rest of the stuff, I don't think I could have easily rented.
Okay, so what was your favorite setup, throughout the bands that you were on that tour with most recently? What was your favorite setup in between them? DI, analog? How was what would the stages look like?
So, again, it depends on which bands I'm working with. So, for example, everyone on the Spires Tulip Ad Infinitum tour, everyone there was fully direct. And both Tulip and Spires were entirely on HX Stomps. Actually, no, Peter from Spires, he had a pedal board. So he was going through a Sans amp or something along those lines. And then Ad Infinitum had a quad cortex and an anagram. So it was, and that was probably for the best, because that's probably the only reason I managed to keep the volume from being ear-splittingly loud at those shows, was only having the drums to contend with, and having drummers that were fairly flexible with taping their cymbals and stuff like that to try to keep the noise down. They were also all sharing one drum kit, so it's whatever one person would do. Because these were relatively small clubs, so it was both just drums and cabs screaming, then it's I guess I'm putting the vocals through the PA and just praying for my life. So that was, a perfectly good thing. With, with Animals, for example, they always have amps and cabs on stage in addition to modeling.
Interesting. Hybrid rigs.
Yeah. So Javier will use a fully hybrid rig. Well, he'll have his Axifex, and he'll both send me a direct signal, and he'll have another separate signal with the separate amp model stuff running to an amp head and a cab. Tosin goes back and forth on this most recent one that we just did with Satchby. That one was he was full analog for that. Full analog. Some of the pedals were digital or whatever, but he was not using a modeler. He was using the Zuda heads, the Zuda GBG 120 or whatever those. So you had a pair of those and then a pair of unmatched cabs that I had to match in order to get a stereo sound out of. So that was Magic Cube because it was really convenient. Completely different setups. Those were much bigger venues. We were doing like amphitheaters and theaters and stuff like that. So I didn't have to worry about stage volume as much, and it was okay to let that ripple. There were still like sometimes where we had to be like, we actually had to get Tosin a load box to turn the speaker attenuator. Load box speaker attenuator thing. We had to get him so that he had more control over how much level he had, because it was like when you're if you're turning the thing and it's down here and then you turn it a little bit and then it's too loud, you try to turn it, it's like you just can't get it, and he had to match
splitting hairs.
So it was that at least gave him more swing to like turn stuff up and down. And we got some really killer tones doing that. Like that was really cool. And we got new mics for that. I got the VR2s from SE, the active ribbon mics that I was using on Tosin for that. And I was pretty happy with that tone. That tone sounded sick.
So, we've all come a long way from vintage 30s and an SM57.
Yeah, which I mean, that still sounds great for a certain kind of thing. The thing is that I found particularly with Animals is like they're not going for that sort of classic high gain, metal tone. That's not what they're doing. You can't just stick it on a V30, use whatever mic, roll off the highs and bring it up, because that's not their sound. Like their sounds they'll be using single coil neck pickups and stuff like that. They've got all that jangly, twangy, stuff going on. And they have a couple moments where they'll do, the bridge pickup, humbucker chugs and stuff, but that's not, I wouldn't even say that is 50% of the show.
So a lot like the 2009, in between 2009 to 2013 Leprous style.
I'd say it's Animals' leader style. I mean, I feel like that they kind of pioneered it, to be honest. And then they're still doing new stuff that I feel like other people are still imitating now. So yeah, I don't know. It's there. There's not a lot of people that use use guitars and use tones kind of the way they do it. So it has resulted in me having to approach it like quite differently. And for example, I have to be ready to allow quite a bit more high end in the guitars and a lot more high mids in the guitars than I usually would, which makes balancing that out against harshness look really difficult, because normally that's easy. So you just cut the crap out of 4 and 5K, and then and then it'll be fine. And that's where your cymbals and like some vocal sibilant slivs and stuff like that. But with these guys, it's like, well, that's like where their tone is. Like that's where all the attack is. That's where all the spank is. And if you don't have that there, then it falls apart. So, and it's not, I generally would not do that with most other guitar tones.
Right. So not anyone could just walk in to do the job. Like you were the hand-picked guy for it.
Well, I've been working with them for a while. Since I started working with them, basically since 2019, there's been only one show that they played that I didn't mix, which incidentally ended up being a complete disaster.
As it
which actually the fact that it was a disaster had nothing to do with whether or not I was mixing it. But yeah, there was a big issue at Swanfest, which hilariously, I actually was there for the show because I was finishing up a tour with another artist, and we happened to be in Chicago at the same time. And so the guitar tech who was the same guy for both bands as well. We popped over, we'll say hi to the guys and see the show. Mm-hmm. And, we get there, we hang out for a little bit, and they're about to start the set, and the set's not starting. I'm kind of looking over, and there's something going on with front of house and lights, and they're trying to talk the stage, and things aren't going. And eventually, Adam, the LD, is like, Igor, could could you go take a look? And go up there, and something had gotten completely hosed with the monitor session. Like, they had a sound check, and when they called the session, I'm guessing what happened is because it wasn't their board, they were using a house board. There was some weird safe setup or something, and the entire, like, all the routing was hosed. They were getting, like, time code in the ears and stuff like that. And our poor monitor guy at that point, who was brand new, he just out of school, was just deer in headlights. And
trial by fire.
Yeah, he had done one tour with us, and he just like was not ready to troubleshoot, what had to happen there, and so it was just like, that between the house guy and I, we eventually tried enough things that we managed to send them on. They got to play. They went out 40 minutes late and played 4 songs.
Oh,
and. It wasn't just them. They weren't the only, because I think Glassjaw went on after us, and they had, I think, the same issue because they were also using the house board. But
that had to have been at the Salt Shed then, wasn't it?
No, it was at Aragon Ballroom.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's such an awesome venue too.
Awesome looking venue.
Well, it was awesome as a spectator. I saw Mastodon Russian circles, and I can't remember who the other act was back in 2017. And I remember that place. Whoever the front of house was did an incredible job. The place sounded awesome. It looked awesome. A guy kept giving me beer for free. It was a good night.
That might have had something to do with your impression of how awesome it sounded.
Probably. I don't know. I do look back, and it's a cool place. It really is. Really cool location too.
I haven't been there yet, surprisingly. It's hard to get a photog gig at the Aragon because it's usually like a Live Nation show or just some band with PR that doesn't respond.
Yeah, you gotta know a guy for those usually.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how I got to shoot Cradle of Filth recently. I know a guy that was on the tour.
So I want to.
I got a question though.
Okay, take it.
Out of all the venues that you've been in, you kind of made the sly remark about the Aragon there. Of all the venues you've been in, any size, what has been your least favorite venue to ever have to mix in?
So there are qualifiers for this because it depends on what country you're talking about. Because my least favorite place to mix in the U.S. is still better than like what I had recently had to deal with in like India.
Ooh.
My probably the Granada Ballroom in Dallas. I've done every show that I've done there has just been ass. I don't like that place. It sounds terrible, particularly for the music that I tend to bring there. I mixed Animals there, I mixed BT Bam there, and it's just like. It sucks. It's just a miserable experience for me every time.
Is it just the construction of the theater?
Yeah, it's a combination of the PA in the room, and like I'm sure that if you change, really, it's the room more than anything. It's the way the room is set up and the fact that it's not treated, and just like the deployment there. It's like a small stage. It's a pain to load in and out of. The dressing rooms are tiny. But yeah, it's not particularly fun to mix there. But again, this is compared to like we were in India and they were like doing like live electricity work on the stage like during setup. They gave Tosin an outlet that was supposed to be 120 for his pedal that like 2 hours later turned into 220 and fried his entire pedal board.
Oh my God.
It just like and they had this like super long vein because basically none of the venues we played in England are real venues or in India were real venues. Like it's all like some converted thing, either it's like a converted restaurant or a nightclub or something like that. And so one of them was like this restaurant where they had a point source PA, but it was like the place was super long and they didn't have delays. So if you're right up front, it's way the hell too loud. It was like okay around where I was, but then it extended for like another 100 or so feet behind me where nobody could hear anything. And
that sounds like
there's nothing I can do about that. So yeah, there's give and take everywhere.
You would probably hate. There's a big venue around us. It's called the Rust Belt in Moline, and it sounds exactly like how you just described it. They've got a nice big stage, a massive PA system, and a new LED video board behind the stage. But the venue is just so goddamn long, and they don't have, and like up front,
delays.
It's loud. In the middle, you're getting some good sound, but all the way in the back where the merch is, it sounds like you're at an EDM show, and you're getting your ears destroyed by the low end.
Oh yeah, I mean that stuff. Low end's going to build up against walls and stuff like that. That can be very, very hard to deal with, and you have to like plan for that basically when you build the venue, or do some very, very expensive treatment in order to handle stuff like that.
The Rust Belt's an old converted car factory. It's all brick. You're gonna steel ceilings.
Yeah, unless tear it down and start over. That's the best bet at that point.
Hey, but you have a daiquiri factory.
Oh yeah. See, but there's a venue in Chicago that's very similar to the Rust Belt called Radius. I don't know if you've ever been there, Igor, but it's a big, long room, but it's probably 1.5 times as wide as the Rust Belt, Dustin, and a hell of a lot longer. But man, they have tuned that room, and it sounds absolutely amazing.
Nice.
So it can be done.
Yes. Saw Meshuggah there. Man, they sounded huge in that room.
They sound pretty huge anywhere. Thomas does an incredible job.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It was we opened for them at Arctangent a couple of years ago, and it was just like I didn't get a sound check, and I was just praying not to humiliate myself before they went on.
Ooh, which group was that with?
With Animals as Leaders.
Okay. Oh, that would be intimidating. Especially with the name that Animals as Leaders built up, and you guys didn't even... That's almost as bad as just getting a line check and going.
It's pretty standard for festivals. Usually it's only the headliner gets a sound check. Sometimes direct support will, depending on the festival, but this wasn't the type of fest where...
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure you guys have like saved scenes on your mixing boards, especially with like the X-Wing, to where you've got it like narrowed into the ballpark, but all the fine tuning happens during the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's like sound check in the venue would still be good because, I can tune the PA and stuff like that. But yeah, this was, we were coming out of pre-production, so it's not like I was going in with nothing.
Right.
So yeah, and I think it was fine. This was still on the X32. And it worked fine. It didn't sound as good in the Meshuggah, but it sounded perfectly good, perfectly fine, acceptable for a festival show.
Right.
No one was complaining they couldn't tell what the song was.
Yeah, no one would really know unless it's something really wrong or it's the audio snobs like us.
Yeah, but that's what I'm making for, right?
Right, pretty much. It's like
I don't know, man. The average, particularly just like over the last 5 years, the bar for like what live audio has been raised significantly. From like when I started it was like, oh man, you can like things are intelligible. That's incredible. Like people expect stuff to sound like the CD at this point. They want the CD. That's showing my age here. Yeah. People are expecting to hear, what they streamed off of Spotify, but like just writ large. Like they want a super, super high production. If they're, and everyone's a critic, and especially dealing with some of these venues where like the venue is a problem, and depending on where you are in the venue, you might not have a great experience. And people will very actively complain about it, because it's like, because so many people have seen shows that sound good now. And part of that is like the technology changes, and also just, there's so many great engineers out there now, just like working their asses off to make things sound absolutely incredible. And people both, so there are expectations in terms of, what they want to hear of what they think it's supposed to sound like. And just kind of, I don't know, it's gotten tricky, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It's like you have to work really hard, and it's hard to make everyone happy.
There's so many hurdles nowadays, but I mean, the thing is, one of the best things and more intimate things about going to a live show, and even if it's one of the bigger ones, is it's so nice, especially as a musician, to go there, first off, spy what they're using for gear, but then hear all the little imperfections in like the front of house or even the band themselves, because it shows that they're human. And in a world full of AI right now, going out and seeing a live show and seeing these guys do their thing, as good as they are, even if there is a flub here or a flub there, it just reminds you that you're actually there in person and not watching behind a screen or watching something generated. So I feel like that's kind of lost. Like, these snobs just don't know how to have fun.
I like to think so. Sometimes it just like, maybe I'm just chopped. I don't know. But in any case, it's yeah. Well, it's with the Animals guys. It's actually extremely funny to me when they mess up, because they are, you know, some of the most inhuman musicians in the world, playing like some of the most difficult music in the world, and it's honestly just like gratifying to watch them eat shit sometimes. And honestly, I feel like the audience feels the same way, because it's like it's like, oh no, yeah, I guess you suck. It's like, obviously you're still, you know, fucking unreal, like top level musicians, but like, yeah, you're human too. Every once in a while you're gonna mess up. And and also, like, you know, on this one, so the 2 months we just did, like show like number 3 or something, Javi fell and like injured his hand.
No.
Yeah, and so he was wearing a wrist brace for a lot of it, and there were a couple of times where they had to like cut a couple songs because he's just like, guys, I'm dying here, I can't, like, we gotta, you know, so we had to cut a couple short. And then, you know, it leaves it like, because again, yeah, you're human, you have to deal with human things, and sometimes you can't perform at your absolute best because, you know, your wrist is twice the size it normally is.
Injuries out on the road suck. I was watching a Bus Invaders the other night with Ginger, and I think it was their sound guy had a herniated disc, and he's on the bottom bunk, and I'm like, oh buddy, I felt your pain. I've had the surgery. It sucks.
Yeah, it's not great. Don't like that.
Well, I feel like now is a good segue, if any, to move on to the next segment of this. Your entry point with Line 6. And I am a fanboy. I'm not going to deny it. I've loved Line 6 since the Spider 3. I've owned the HD 147. Hey, the Spider 3 was one of the best Spiders, because they also had the Spider Jam.
Fair.
Yeah. All right.
I did not work on any of those.
But that insane distortion setting, though, is so amazing.
Hold on. Here's the thing, though. If you were to grab any one of those old Spider 3s, take out the Celestian that came with it, and replace it with anything else, it would sound...
One of these days we're going to put like a proper insane model into like Stadium with like a Gora.
Oh, no.
Blow people's minds.
Can you make it a hidden feature, like an Easter egg?
We've talked about it. I'm not sure what form it's going to take exactly.
Isn't it just the Badonk with the max hype?
No. I don't even know if anyone knows exactly what the Badonk is at this point, like where it came from. There's like some
sounds good
copy. Yeah, I mean, there's copy about what it was. There's like, allegedly it was a triple rectifier loaded with a Rivera sub, is allegedly what it is.
Really?
No one's really sure how true that is, if that's what it's based on, or I mean, it could have been someone just like putting things together in like the modeling tools. It's unclear, but that's as far, if you trace it far back enough into like the documentation, when the Big Bottom first arrived, that's what was listed. And the Badonk is the HX version of the Big Bottom. Get it? Anyway.
I mean, it's certainly become a favorite amongst a lot of the tone shares in marketplace.
Yeah, it's a great sounding amp, and it's also really pretty light on DSP usage because it's not actually that complex of a model, but it works really well for like modern, you know, tight, genty stuff.
Oh yeah,
particularly if you drive it. But yeah, sorry, I think we went on a tangent. What was the initial question?
Oh yeah, your start with Line 6 and kind of like the architecture build up to this Helix and Stadium. Now we all know about Frank and we know about Eric, but we all know you're the guy behind it all.
I'm hardly the guy behind it all.
No,
I worked on it. I am one of the engineers on the project. I won't go so far as say I'm the main engineer on the project.
No, we love you, Eric, and we love you, Frank.
Yes, I will say I have had significant contributions to the Helix family of projects, but I don't think there is any one person that's behind it all.
No, there's an entire team, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
dozens of people.
Yeah.
No, maybe, well, like it's probably fewer than you think, but there's a good amount of people working on it. Anyway, my entry point was actually, I started working as QA, and I started as a tester. I had moved out to LA thinking I was never going to write code ever again, and I was just going to do music production. And I needed to make rent. And they had an opening for a QA tester. So I started doing that, which was soul crushing. It was not for me. And we have an amazing QA department, and I love those guys to pieces, and they are an essential part of what we do. And I was ready to take a pay cut. I had interviewed for like different jobs for less money just because I did not want to do that job anymore. And this was right around the time that Yamaha acquired Line 6, and I had like interviewed for like a lead position, and that all got frozen during the acquisition. So I was just like doing the job. And I had at some point, they had figured out that I had a development background because I tried to set up like some automated testing stuff, and they're like, "How do you know how to do this?" And I was like, "Oh, I have a computer science degree, whatever, blah blah blah." And after Yamaha acquired Line 6, they just started hemorrhaging engineers. Everybody just left. And so they were just like, I got kind of prodded as like, "Hey, would you ever consider doing engineering again?" I was like, "Oh my God, anything, get me out of here." And which was then followed by a series of like the most awkward interviews I've ever done in my life, because it was just a series of me going, "Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to look that up. I haven't programmed in like 7 years." And for whatever reason, they decided to take a chance on me, and initially started as this like split where I was like half QA and half engineering, which lasted, I don't know, maybe a month before I was like 100% engineer because they needed it. And there's definitely a lot of me just kind of like re-upping my knowledge, and like I taught myself Python in 2 days because there was like a need for that, and just like getting good real quick on the job and figuring stuff out as best I could as I went. And thankfully there's still a couple people there that kind of helped me out a little bit, but it was like a few months in, I got asked to basically like train a new hire, and I was like, what are you talking about? What the hell just happened? It was very quickly that there were like very few senior people left. And thankfully, Brandon Nelson, who had previously left, but he came back to take the engineering department head job. He came in, and he's still our head DSP, and I think he's still head of engineering, or I forget what exactly that title is, but he's sort of the big man in terms of all top level engineering stuff. And he made some of the models. He wrote a bunch of the DSP algorithms that run the stuff. He's still basically in charge of all the DSP stuff that happens. But he came back, and he was able to like sort of guide the engineering ship to for us to get Helix out the door, because God knows I could not have done it. But yeah, that's kind of how it went. It was one of those situations where if I had come in the front door, I never would have even gotten a call back. But because I was already there, and they knew that I didn't like suck ass as a person, they were willing to kind of like try something out, and it ended up working.
Well, I'm happy it did. I mean, you were probably one of the most helpful guys on the Helix forums. I know at one point in time, like 3 years ago, I was some random stranger in your inbox like, "Hey, how do I do this?" Or "What do you think about this?" And yeah, you've been extremely helpful on that forum, and you don't suck ass as a person.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been much to the detriment of my mental health, but I try to help out online whenever I can. It's mostly me getting nerd sniped, to be honest. It's like when someone asks a question I know the answer to, I have a really hard time not saying the answer.
Now I have a question. Stepping back a little bit to when you were doing QA stuff. Now, to the average layperson like myself, when we think of QA and quality assurance and stuff like that, we think of, pushing knobs, pushing buttons, turning shit, and making sure it all works. Now, as far as QA when it comes to software development, is it they're reading through lines of code, recompiling, fixing what you broke?
They're using the product like an end user.
Okay.
Yeah, as much as possible, which, for something like Stadium is really difficult because there's so much in it, right? Like we don't have nearly enough people to test every single feature every single time there's a change made to see if things get broken. We've been relying pretty heavily on the beta and stuff to help out with that. We also we did build up a scripting language that they can use to automate some of the stuff. But there needs to be some more work done there to really flesh that out. But yeah, they are mostly doing what you're saying. They're poking the screen, they're turning knobs, they're putting together presets, they're trying to break the thing. They're trying to see what happens if I completely load this up and then I change this thing and then I, export it and then re-import it back and then change this thing and can I, get it to do something weird.
Run through every scenario they can possibly
and they've built up, we've had, the in-house QA guys, we've had a few of the same people for a long time. They've built up a pretty good set of institutional knowledge of sometimes weird things to try. And we've got a few guys that are really good at that, just how did you even think to do this? You're right. You're right that it does not work correctly when you do this insane 15 steps of stuff in a row. And while I really want to hand wave this and go, no one's ever going to do that, I know that will absolutely accidentally happen in the wild and we're going to get yelled at about it. So
now, what's the biggest bug you've had to patch right before shipping?
Oh my God.
I got a story about that too, by the way.
Really? I don't know if I have a good answer for right before ship. I mean, we've definitely
the most critical bug, maybe.
They all blend together at some point. It's I honestly even I'll get a bug sometimes where it'll be I know I have fixed something along these exact lines before and I cannot remember a goddamn thing about it. It's once there's just too much, man. We're talking, this is tens, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lines of code at this point.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And it's every, once I, sometimes I remember something, but it just I fix the thing and I move on to the next day. I've already forgotten about the last thing. I mean, one of the most memorable bugs that I've had to deal with was I remember I spent 3 days chasing something down to assembly code, which ended up being a misaligned it was a misaligned 64-bit instruction that was breaking across words in the wrong place.
Oh man!
Where I was literally tracing through assembly memory pushing instructions to eventually track that down, because the way I forget how it was presenting, but it was not something that made any sense. It was oh yeah, this is a memory misalignment. It was just this thing should work and it doesn't work. And then you're running through the debugger and the debugger is not giving you anything that makes any sense, the way, it appears to be doing everything correctly. And just then you just a value that's wrong shows up somewhere. So that's some of the more memorable and frustrating stuff. I think I remember at the time I was doing that stuff, I ended up writing it up on social media at some point, Twitter, or wherever it was that I was using at the time. Just because I'm you guys need to understand the insane thing that I just went through. Anyway, what was your story? I want to hear your story.
Yeah, okay. Definitely, Dustin.
So, I think you were there with us, Bill. Or maybe where it was on our way back from a Mason City show. And I had gotten the notification from Guitar Center that the stadium had shipped. This was back in November. You know where I'm going, don't you, Igor?
I think I do.
I was not. That was the Halloween show. I had to miss that one.
A bunch of us got notifications from Guitar Center, and it was funny because line 6 was saying Guitar Center screwed up. Guitar Center saying, oh, well, line 6 screwed up. And I'm I think I'm going to trust line 6 over this. But I had my stadium in my hands, and the QA lady from FedEx said, I got to take that back because it's not yours. They want it back. And I'm the driver for myself. I'm my own FedEx driver. So I had my stadium in my hands. So I'm finally, yes. And then it gets pulled. I called off work that day and went in on my day off to get it. Back in the day.
Sorry.
Back in the day, people would I'm going to call into school so I could play Halo the day of release or something I
remember those days.
I called into my own job where I was going to deliver it to myself so I can play with it all day.
Yeah.
I'm fighting with this lady.
It was not us. This happens every major release. We get hosed by some distributor, and it's almost always Sweetwater posting stuff early. But especially rough. Sweetwater's great, but they have done this to us so many times at this point. I just expect it now. One of the things, so somebody actually did, like, it didn't get pulled back. They actually got theirs, I think, several days before it was supposed to get into people's hands. We had to push firmware and like open it up so they could use it early, basically, like push it live early, so that, you know, they didn't just have a break. Thankfully, they were super chill. Like, they contacted us and were like, hey, this is the situation with, like, can I talk about it? Can I do whatever? And we were like, yeah, at this point, you know, go ahead, do whatever. And we pushed stuff live so that he could actually use the thing. And thankfully, he was super chill about it.
I think I remember seeing that on the forums.
Yeah, that was a weird situation. And it was just like, I don't know, like, we can't be any more clear than, like, this is the date, this is the time that we want you guys to do this, and they somehow screw it up. Somebody screws it up every single time.
Man, you know, the worst part about that story, though, is after I showed up, bastards tried putting me to work that day.
No.
That's FedEx for you.
Yeah. Yeah, but no.
I'm reluctant to say anything negative about Sweetwater because where I work, their owner, Chuck Surratt, he just renovated his house in Naples, Florida, and we did all of the trusses for it and shipped them all from Rockford, Illinois, and everything. So I'm a little leery to say anything bad about Sweetwater because they gave us a lot
overall.
of money.
Yeah, no, I mean, we like Sweetwater a lot, like, literally, and because this is verifiable truth, they have revealed new products and various other things early multiple times at this point. That's all I'm saying. I'm not casting any shade. I'm just
saying just what happened.
Yeah.
So were they? So I heard a rumor, and it might tie back into this, but the reason why the stadium was announced, from what I heard, it was announced earlier than it was supposed to be. You guys had the anniversary show, like the 10-year, was it the 10-year anniversary for Helix?
It was announced to tie into the 10-year anniversary of Helix.
Yes, but I heard that some of that might have been pushed forward because someone at a distributor leaked or pushed out the Kemper Mark II. Did that have anything to do with the stadium being announced earlier?
No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. We would never.
No. Now, is there friendly competition between like Line 6 and Kemper and all the other companies that have?
Pretty good friends with Kemper, to be honest. Like, Eric and Christoph are buddies. And we have a lot of respect for, you know, the other people in the field.
You ever talk shit back? Our model sounds better than yours does.
I mean, we keep an eye on what the competition is doing. Not like directly to them. Probably not. I mean, it's not. I don't think they're hanging out that often. It's usually like, you know, have a beer at NAMM or something like that. But it's like, well, I mean, until very recently, what Kemper was doing and what we were doing were very different things, right? So it wasn't even exactly competition. It was sort of the same sphere, the same end user goal, but like how we got there was completely different. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely no bad blood between us and Kemper.
I will say there's a reason why I still own a Line 6 product, but the Kemper I no longer have. I will say Proxy is, and again, you know, kind of comparing it to the older tech and the Kemper, it's just so much faster and smoother, and the end result is a bit more polished than the profiles were.
I'm glad you like it. We will have some nice improvements coming up soon as well. So that Proxy is very much a work in progress. It's 1.0, and it was 1.0 for a reason, and there will be further updates.
I have an old XT Pod XT Live somewhere in that closet back there. Do you got any updates coming for that?
No.
I need to reset it actually because it's damn near completely dead. I think I might need a new chip actually.
Yeah, I mean, I could absolutely see some of those components going bad after this much time.
Yeah. It was a great unit when I bought it new, though.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, they were great units in general.
Yeah.
And the stadium, my God, I just can't get over how great this thing is. Having the touchscreen really helps out a lot. Being able to like just drag and the focus view, that is such a game changer. No one else is doing that. I haven't seen that much on the quad cortex. Fractal doesn't have anything like that.
I mean, Fractal doesn't have a touchscreen either, so I'm sure their next one will. But
well, they're always following. But
no, I mean, I think they do. I have a lot of respect for Fractal. I think they do a lot of good stuff, and they've definitely been first to like some certain features. I think they're supporting like these like really long IRs and stuff like that. Like they're doing their thing, and I don't think anyone offers like quite the level of model tweakability that they do. Like ultimately, if you're an amp tech and you want to treat your modeler like an amp on your bench, they're the only ones that like fully let you do that. That's not 99.9% of people who play guitar, but there are some people who are interested in that aspect of it. They have a lot of other stuff. Like I think Fractal makes really, really great products.
It's so damn expensive.
Yeah, I mean, well, unfortunately, even though
actually expensive.
Yeah, well, Stadium, I mean, adjusted for inflation, Stadium's actually only a tiny bit more expensive than Helix was when it launched, but unfortunately, the amount of money that people have has not increased equally, so it does still come up as being expensive. Which is a frustration to us. We didn't want to price it this high. The original prices were not intended to be this high, but our hands were kind of forced by the economy.
I'm sure that the tariffs didn't help with any of the.
No, they did not. The tariffs definitely did not help.
And then the chip shortage in 2020 probably didn't help with development.
Yeah. So there were still I think there were some things that we initially wanted to have in there that still are not available because of that stuff. So there's definitely been, things that we've had to overcome in order to make this thing real. But I think that it's a solid product, and we have a lot of really cool things coming up for it and that plan for it, and some stuff that I think that no one's expecting that should be pretty
I am so excited, but I do want to clarify for the Fractal, when I said following, it's always good to follow what your competition is doing to see what they're doing. Like, I'm going to flat out say it. I do feel like Neural DSP, with the way the workflow looks on their screen, is really reminiscent of Helix.
Well, did you see when they first announced it? Like the screenshots, like they also used all the same colors as like our categories and stuff like that.
It's like,
it was pretty shameless.
It creates familiarity.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of funny with the advent of proxy. It's crazy how Line 6 has better product compatibility or plugin compatibility with Neural DSP plugins than Neural DSP does. Have you profiled a plugin? Because I have.
To give credit where credit is due, I do think the V2 quad cortex profiling thing is quite good. I was not a huge fan of V1, but I think the V2 one is really nice.
Now, to get your on a smaller fry, to get your opinion on it, how do you feel about Tonix?
I think that they are doing, their thing. There's some things I think is really interesting about their process. I personally, for whatever reason, and I know tons of people really like it, I never got along with the results I got from their process with like trying to clone my amps and stuff with that. There was always something about it that either felt or sounded weird to me that I could never quite put my finger on. So that one is just not for me, I think. But I know plenty of people absolutely adore it.
Some of their profiles are a little bit out there. Like I was an early adopter because I wanted to see how I can I wanted to run the Helix rack in tandem with the Tonix just so I can try to get like something on a speaker here with something in front of house there just to kind of play around with it. And even some of the earlier profiles and models, like I bought the Keith Merrill one, and oh boy, Keith, he knows his tones, but that Tonix didn't do it justice. But I feel like they're slowly catching up to the...
It can be hard to translate stuff sometimes, like especially like you dial stuff in for your gear, for your playing, for your monitoring system, right, and then someone else takes it to their completely different I mean, this is why we put the whole like preset clip thing into Helix so that you can...
Which is very useful.
Stadium. Yeah, so you can hear what it's supposed to sound like. But yeah, I do. Again, they're another one because they updated their process. They have their more recent stuff, I think, is better than the stuff that came before. Just for whatever reason, I did not really get along with it.
Now I have 3 more questions, and they're kind of the elephants in the room here. So one, Helix Stadium ever get in a rack format?
I cannot comment on any potential future products.
Yay!
Yeah.
Don't take that as a confirmation, Dustin.
That's not a confirmation.
I will echo the same thing that Eric says every time this comes up on the forums. So Helix Rack was the worst selling SKU of the Helix family. So if you want a stadium rack, we need you to tell us why you think it'll sell better, and needs to be better than just like, well, I want one because like, well, we want one too, sure. But
it was nice being able to have everything as one.
I think Dustin, of all people, would be able to tell you exactly why you guys need to put out a stadium rack and give you detailed, intricate reasons why.
And not just because of how you want to use it, why you think it'll sell better.
Well, that's difficult because what works for me might not work for we. And what I mean by that is one of the strongest selling points in the Helix rack for me was being able to throw it in with everything, have everything in the same place at once, and the way that you could just MIDI automate everything together and have everything just run straight through a rack. And that's what I kind of miss about the XR18, because the X32, the MIDI doesn't, you can't control any other MIDI device with it. That kind of sucks, but it was beautiful having a laptop on top and having the workflow go down, having the Helix rack as the main MIDI and the main MIDI hub. Sorry, I was going to say USB MIDI hub, but it was so nice. And having the long, like, I would rather pay to have the rack in a rack and pay maybe $500-600 to have the foot controller up front, because I have the chat. Anyone who's smart has the Chad Boston screen protectors and everything, right? I'm going to plug Chad because he does great work. But it would suck. You're playing a gig, and a lot of us, we're entry level to mid-level like venues, you know, where there's not barricades and there's not people stopping other people from coming up close with their drinks. I'd rather replace a floor controller than the whole Stadium XL. Sure. Because someone's a douchebag. That's probably the biggest selling point. But then again, at that point, the people who would be getting the rack would be more of the top tier dudes playing the bigger stages. But that's also a double-edged sword, because if you're playing the bigger stages, you're going to have that barricade and no one to mess with your stuff. So it's really tough to tell you guys to do it. I mean, of course, everyone can shit in one hand and wish in the other. We'll see which one fills up first.
Obviously.
Everyone has their favorite format. Like, I missed my rack. I loved the rack. It was great. But having the Stadium XL, it's also awesome to not have to get a Mission Expression pedal, again, to be able to use the expression. And it's already integrated. It's already tuned to the device itself. And it's nice to just be able to work on something right there off the floor. I mean, I know you had the edit mode on the rack, which was really useful too. That was really smart engineering, being able to edit your preset from the floorboard.
Yeah, we need to put that back in the Stadium.
God, I missed that. That was so nice too. The touchscreen does make up for a lot of it, but for people who've had their back surgery, bending over sometimes sucks.
Well, it's like in the middle of a song, you know, like you can still do it with your feet while you're playing if you need to.
Absolutely. But nope,
that'll make its way back in eventually.
If I look forward to that day, but should there come a rack, I may have to buy another Helix Stadium. That's just the way it goes. I mean, noted. Maybe if that was a thing, you can use the floor, or you can use the normal Stadium or Stadium XL as the external floorboard. That would be a really cool like link feature. Although
I think you guys should just send Dustin a prototype.
Stop it. I'm not big enough for that. But I will say, as for MIDI, being able to have everything in a rack, going from one to another, I did find a really nice workaround through WittyMaster. So it's like Bluetooth MIDI, so that's been really cool. But leading on from what you said, Eric went on about the rack, he also went on about something else recently too, which is the next question. How do you feel about these smaller, more cheaper products coming out, spouting off that they can support NAM captures and NAM capture version 2?
Cool.
That's a good reaction to have.
Yeah, I mean, like Eric said, it's not like we're not having conversations about it. Whether or not it will show up in Stadium is still up in the air. It's, again, a lot of people assume that, like, oh, okay, so this is just, you can just put it in, and that's like not how any of this stuff works.
No.
So there are a number of things with like having to get it working in our system, working in our DSP environment, working on our chips, and then there's still questions about like how well it performs, like really like how, just because there is, you know, a $150 product or whatever that can run that, does not mean that it's going to be like super awesome on Stadium, and definitely way better than Proxy, especially after, you know, the improvements that we're working on for Proxy and stuff like that.
I really like Proxy, so
you know, it's like in a perfect world where it's, you know, we can just flip a switch and like enable it, like, sure, great, whatever, that's, why not? But there are more things that have to be figured out before that can be even like a plan. So yeah, you know, for whoever manages to put those products out, more power to them. Like, why not? You know, NAM's great.
I mean, even at the early stages of the announcement, you guys were talking about, you know, it may support NAM, it may not. It could be a future update. I feel like a lot of people just don't pay attention to these things. Like when I'm about to get a new product, especially something as an early adopter, brand new, every interview that I can find, every bit of information that I can find about the future investment is what I listen for. And you guys set the bar pretty high when you were talking about Proxy. So people, I feel like asking for NAM, it's like, your greed sickens me.
I mean, we also, so I try not to, I always tell people, buy the product that is there, not the product that you think will be there later. Like, I don't ever want people buying it because they think the thing that's going to make them happy is coming in the future. I want them to be satisfied with the product when they take it home, that it does the things that they need to do. And if something awesome comes out later that, you know, makes their life better or whatever, then that's awesome. I
bonus value added.
Yeah, exactly. Like we try to make sure that the product is good at every point. We also do try to make really good updates and add a lot of things. And we do tend to talk about, you know, cool things that are coming in the future because we get really excited about what we're working on because we think we've got, you know, cool stuff coming. So and again, even with Stadium, unfortunately, we did have to launch it with a number of things that we announced that were not in it at 1.0, like Proxy. We have now, I believe, everything that we had announced is out and in Stadium as of like 6 months after it launched or something. I don't think there's any major feature that anyone is still waiting on, and I think the sort of most of the frequent gripes will also be dealt with very, very soon.
And a lot of those posts of, oh, I'm sending it back, it's not doing what I'm doing. It's like, dude, it was released early. We all voted on this. There was a poll on if we wanted it now or later. And, you know, you can't be mad if you voted yes for now because we were all impatient fucks who wanted it. And you know what? This is one of the main selling points. Monica, our vocalist, and my wife, I had to tell her, listen, these guys have an incredible track record, 10 years of Helix, and there is consistent updates and upgrades for free right up until the announcement of the Stadium. That was a selling point because if you guys did 10 years with the OG Helix and you're still continuing to support it, I can only imagine how long you're going to keep going with Stadium and what you're going to be able to add to with that.
That's so. Yeah.
that's a huge selling point because you guys have you future-proof a lot of your stuff, like a lot of the things in the Helix. I mean, you guys said you rebuilt the engine, 3 times in-house as free updates, and people didn't even know there's like a Helix Mark 1, Helix Mark 2, Helix Mark 3 before the Stadium.
Well, yeah. It was all through firmware updates, so it's not like you had different hardware. It was just there were. It's a very different machine than it was when it launched. And yeah, I like to think that we have at least earned people's trust to bear with us if there were things that we needed to work out and fix. And I think that we've been doing some stuff recently that has also sort of increased some of the velocity on things that we can work on and our processes, and trying to get people more things faster and fix things that are broken faster and just try to make things better for everyone. So I think that hopefully if you compare where Helix was a year into its life with where Stadium is a year into its life, I think there should hopefully be a notable improvement in terms of just capability, how much stuff we've added.
Oh yeah, it's like a whole generational gap.
Yeah, so that's the hope, because a lot of people, I've seen a lot of accusations that that it's basically it's just a Helix with a touch screen, which I take issue with that, because I feel like it does quite a bit more than that.
It certainly does. I mean, you have first off a lot more DSP, and you can do a lot more things with it, and with the updates and upgrades to the hardware, you can noticeably tell that there's a difference in the audio sound. I mean, I
certainly think so. Some people don't seem to. For me, the biggest thing with the Agora models tends to be the feel, and I used to be very critical of the whole feel argument, but it became pretty obvious to me once the first Agora models started coming in that there's a difference there in terms of how they react compared to HX models, and just dialing those in feels a lot more amp-like to me.
It really does, and I do like how on the edit you got the knobs in there. I like twiddling the knobs on the edit.
Yes, but that's one of the options.
Speaking of Agora, I'm still holding my breath for a Driftwood Purple Nightmare Agora model. That would just be...
That's definitely one of the ones on our list. I'll say that.
Oh, now what? Are you guys going to tell me that we're going to be getting a Randall Satan coming?
That one's almost become a meme because there's a very small but very vocal contingent that really wants that amp.
I was hoping you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I know what it is, but I wouldn't say that that's one of our priorities, because, like I said, it's a small contingent that asks for it.
Right. But I mean, guys, the proxy is out there. All you have to do is find one.
You just gotta make proxies of it. I will say that in general, we are able to make Agora amps now faster than we could make HX amps. So
and that's crazy.
Yeah, so a lot of things will hopefully this means that there are a lot of wish list things that we'll be able to make happen, and in more reasonable time than it was with OG Helix.
Right, because I've been harassing you guys for a Driftwood since the OG Helix. Oh man, I'm so excited for the future of the Line 6 products in Helix, and yeah, so I guess that leads me to my last question. And if you can't say anything, completely understand, but what is one of the things you're looking forward most putting into the Helix Stadium and getting out to us?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of what I can say, because I'm pretty sure the stuff that I'm most excited about I can't talk about.
Oh boy.
Well, if you were to be working on something,
yeah,
I heard rumors of stem separation.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what that is? That was the last thing that we had announced that isn't out yet. But that is I don't know if it's coming in the next one or the one after it, but it's coming very soon.
That would be really useful to tone matching. Being able to separate stems and be able to sit there with your parametric EQ on the Helix, which the parametric EQ, having that touch screen and being able to see all the movements for people who were EQ illiterate like me up until the last 3 or 4 years, if I had something like that just to play around with, I mean, I got the plugins now. I know how to work it, but just being able to just touch and move is just so nice.
The visual representation, as a mix engineer, you hear like, well, mix with your ears a lot. Don't worry about what it says on the screen. But we are, those of us that are sighted are creatures that rely on that quite a bit, and visual feedback. It can and is very meaningful and can be for audio work as well. So yeah, it's I wish we could have done stuff like that on Helix. Unfortunately, the screen and the processor just not have the juice for that kind of visual feedback. But yeah, having that on Stadium is really great. And yes, the stem separation is definitely coming, and that'll be sick. I mean, I've heard I've been legitimately impressed by some of the results I've gotten out of that. Where I remember someone was using it to create when we were testing the showcase, the playback stuff, and so there were someone like made here's a demo song, use this to test whatever. I'm like, oh man, where'd you get these multi-tracks? And they're like, oh no, this is the stem separation. I was like, what?
That's really impressive. You brought up Showcase. Is there, if there's not already, because I've just now started, we got our laptop in the X32, but I've just now started playing around with Showcase. Will there soon be a mixer function to Showcase?
There already is. What do you mean?
Well, then there we go. That answers the question.
Yeah,
like I said,
go to the Matrix Mixer. You can level all the.
That's what the Matrix Mixer. Okay, see, like I said,
one thing the Matrix Mixer does.
New to Showcase. Since I've never had a reason to play around with it, I decided, okay, want to start going in ears, want to be able to send a mix just to the drummer, one to me, because you got a bunch of awesome cool stuff. Like the X5 makes an awesome cheap in-ear monitor. You can plug it into the outs of the Stadium XL. Everyone can subsequently get their own mix to some extent. And yeah, that's super cool. Stem separation's gonna be wild. Everything you guys have done with the Stadium thus far has been absolutely incredible, and it's been great seeing it being listed as the #1 product on a lot of these websites like Sweetwater, Zounds, Musician's Friend, Guitar Center. So that must make you feel a certain way deep down. I know you're probably hungry to get more out, but I mean, you got to give yourself the pat on the back, you and the rest of the crew at Line 6. I can't spend time on the internet looking at things to do with Helix and feel good about myself generally. There's too many people just completely ready to shit on us. So I don't read things about Helix on the internet expecting to feel good. Well, from going from being the butt of the joke of Line 6, with the pods and the spiders, to being the #1 contender for a lot of people's wallets. That's quite the turnaround.
I mean, that joke still happens though. That's the other frustrating thing is I still see so many freaking things about the goddamn insane setting.
Honestly, you guys should just make an Agora insane model. Fuck them. I mean, own up to it, because I mean, lean into it. If you take that away from them, what can they do?
I mean, the accolades are nice, but it's not. We're trying to win hearts and minds here.
Well, if I hadn't made it clear yet, there's a reason why I haven't gone back to a tube amp and cab live on stage in 7 years now. And that's because Line 6, even the OG Helix and the Stomp, holds up to this day.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. And the XT Live still sounds great too.
That's right. Yeah.
One of the last bands I played in, the guy had an XT Live that he was going through a Mesa cab. It actually didn't sound very bad.
Yeah, honestly, with a lot of the older pod stuff, the cab sims were probably the weak spot on it. And if you run that stuff out into a power amp or even just some good IRs, you can get some pretty great tones out of it.
Yeah, that's a working theory I've had. You see a lot of these older products, how much of this is actually junk as opposed to just not being there for the cab technology. Take Digitech.
Yeah. Well, it's because convolution was computationally expensive. And back then it was like you didn't have chips that could just do it as easily as you can now. You know, and they're not coming with these like the the convolution accelerators and stuff like that, like built in on the chips, that makes it much easier to do that. And the reason that cabs are so low impact DSP wise on Stadium. So they had to come up with all these like creative ways to get around it, with like using super short IRs and extending them with filters, or like it wasn't just as simple as just like, yeah, just, you know, get a good IR and put it on the product. So you because of a lot of those corners being cut, the cabs weren't as good as the models were, basically.
Right, because I noticed a lot of people would use those, but they would actually have them run into physical cabs, and they would sound great versus going DI.
Exactly.
Well, you know, we all got to start somewhere.
I mean, some buddies of mine, that's how they recorded their first album, through a bean, basically. Not direct with the cab IRs, but I believe they ran it through a cab and power amp and all that stuff. But yeah, they recorded up pretty much all their guitars on a bean.
Honestly, I mean, there are so many records that were made with, you know, like with beans or with you know, rack mount HDs, or just like a lot of like Line 6 stuff that people just have no idea. They would never have guessed. And it's invisible because it was like, you know, those sessions are gone. People don't talk about it. And it's not always like, oh, guitar heavy band or whatever. But like, there's so many massive records recorded with that stuff that people just have no idea.
I'm still hearing people give the Veta its love.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, Zach had mentioned. So
it's buried, but there's a Veta 2 back there somewhere.
The spider valves were really good.
HD.
Yeah, the spider valves were really good. The HD 147 was really good. I mean, like, I feel like Line 6 was always there. It's just the stuff like the combos and the cabs, like the cab sims, just weren't. But that goes for everyone. Like Digitech, Boss, all those guys had a hard time with the cab stuff.
Well, it was also like for basically until Helix, Line 6 also tried very, very hard to basically keep prices down. Like, they were not trying to be an expensive brand. They were not trying to be this like, oh, this is super pro level, all expensive. Like, they didn't think a guitar modeler could be that way. And honestly, like, until Axe FX, like, it was probably Axe FX that brought that out as a possibility, where like you can have this like super premium thing for a guitar modeler. So yeah, a lot of those products were also limited with that in mind, because they wanted it to be an accessible thing rather than an aspirational thing. So, you know, it's a, like, what, you know, what could have been if they had decided to like try to do this like super premium thing way back when is unclear. You know, it depends on what they would have done with the technology at the time and stuff like that. But
Right,
yeah,
would have been nuts.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, shoot. I think that was it for me on my end. Bill, do you have anything you want to lean into?
Yeah, I think you about covered everything, Dustin.
I mean, I've nerded out. This has been great. From talking about the front of house to hearing about rigs. Like, I'm always at the front trying to see what everyone's got going on, what their metal boards are, what modelers they're using. You know, hearing the stories, the illnesses, the trials and tribulations of going on tour, catching the lettuce diarrhea parasite.
I do have a question. I see some code on your screen back there. What are you working on? Is it something you can't talk about?
It's
What kind of feature is it?
Never mind. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't talk about it right now.
It's all good, man. Here, I'll pass this to you. You can go ahead and silence them.
Actually, I'll be
cut down the trees.
Someone can like zoom in on that and try to figure out what it is.
You have to be pretty familiar with code to be able to tell what it is, unless you got it very well notated.
Even if you are, I don't think there's anything on screen that would give it away or give any indication of what it's actually for.
It's far away enough. I don't think anyone could actually clear that up and zoom it in.
No, not a chance.
Don't take
They'd have to use AI.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, someone out there is like challenges accepted. Regardless, it's something cool. Can't talk about it.
Leans into the last question. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'm not gonna say anything. I didn't say anything. You didn't say anything. We're still good, Frank. Eric, I have no idea what you're talking about, bud. But man, this has been an absolute blast. I love nerding out about the gear. I love nerding out about going out and playing live shows. And oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Doing front of house, it's got to be so epic. Every time you set up the drums, you get the kick going through, and you're just feeling that punch in the chest.
Ideally, it depends. I can't get it every time. Some venues, some rigs, it doesn't happen, and I'm very, very sad. I'm always trying to, but that's not always in the cards. And sometimes there are some very, very painful dB limits that we have to deal with, where between the venue and the limit the headliner put on us. There was one show we did recently where I think I had to keep it to like 90 dBA, which anyone
that's pretty quiet.
Oh yes, it was extremely quiet. It was very frustrating.
I knew some headliner bands. I thought it was a myth, but I guess it's now being brought up to light. But that seems so.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that's not a myth. That is very much a reality. A lot of particularly older bands, and then this was much more common in the 80s and 90s and stuff. But yeah, no, headliners.
You can't be louder than us.
Mm-hmm. No, well, no. I mean, they would do things like they put like limiters on the system, where they'd say like you can only use this many channels. I know one major band who are like still a major band that whose name everyone would recognize, that was opening for another very large band who at some point were basically just like, yeah, you can't use the subs anymore.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw names out. Avenged Sevenfold, Slipknot.
I'm not going to...
Trivium. You're not going to...
I'll tell you after the taping ends.
Oh, you don't have to. We don't need to get anybody in trouble here. But it's just, man, that kind of stinks, because ultimately, if you want a show to succeed, everyone needs to kick ass. Everyone needs to sound like $1 million.
Everyone's got to sound like Manowar, damn it.
I mean, at least with Typo Negative, the feedback was on purpose.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that stuff definitely happens. So it's cool when, you know, headliners are chill and don't do stuff like that. But it's not uncommon for it to happen.
I did not know that. That's a nice little fun fact to learn. Learn something new every day.
See, I thought it was just people being like pretentious about it. Like, I didn't actually think it was serious, because that kind of sound that's ridiculous. Kind of like venues demanding merch cut.
That's even more of a real, like, oh no, that's real and it can hurt you type boogie.
Yeah, no, I knew that one was real, but the ridiculousness of it. It's like a band going into a bar and asking for a cut of their sales of beer and liquor.
Well, I mean, you know how
that'd be a fair trade-off,
right? Because that's like where that stuff came from. So it came from straight edge shows. Because they would have these straight edge shows where no one in the audience was drinking. So the bar like literally wasn't getting anything from the show. Like the venue was not making money on it because nobody was buying stuff at the bar. So the
Monster and Liquid Death, those kids will buy that.
They didn't have that 25 years ago.
That's like the merch cuts were initially like a scene thing that was meant to keep everything, because a lot of these were like DIY venues, or they were like really, you know, they were like little hardcore clubs that they were not trying to screw anyone. They literally were just like, hey, we want to keep doing these shows, but we can't if we're not making any money. But then someone's like, oh, you're doing what now? Oh, perhaps we can do this too. Yeah, so at this point, it's like, yeah, actually, like if you're going to do it the way, the band should get a cut of the bar, you know.
An equal percentage cut. If they want 40% of merch, you get 40% of the bar.
Exactly.
We'll see who makes out better in that deal.
Yeah, a lot of it's at least a little more defensible when it's like a venue sell and it's like a theater that's providing all of the people and stuff. But yeah, even those people taking 30% is like bonkers. Yeah, but if you're just giving like 4 walls and a table or something, like fuck that.
Yeah, I was talking to a TM one time, and they had a show in LA or something like that. They're like, there was a 25% merch cut for the venue, and they're like, "We made $100. Do you really need our $25?" He's like, "Fork it over, man." He's like, "Man, fuck you," and they stormed out of the venue, and he's like, "Man, fuck that."
That shit sucks.
Yeah, sorry about
Anyway, it doesn't fall asleep here, so I better let you guys go.
No, it's the heat. Like I said, FedEx driver, no AC in those trucks. The heat index was like 110 all day.
God,
I was cooked in that truck all day. Looking forward to this, though.
It was like 70 degrees in my office all day long.
Hey, see this? Sit on it. Spin. We'll cut this out.
So much love.
Oh, no, we do love each other.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
I'm caught up in shit. See, that's why the AirPods are clutch for this.
Yeah,
You got monitors for me.
it's great because my earbuds are actually in my pocket. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me on, guys. This was really fun.
yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Glad we can make up for our biff last weekend, and really glad that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, man. Good times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, this
See you
has
guys
been
later.
Dustin and Bill with the Pit Photography podcast. And if you guys want to help support Line 6, you want to help support Igor, go to these shows. Go see Animals Leaders. Follow him on his socials. And go buy yourself a Stadium XL. You deserve it. You might not, but do it anyway.
Everyone deserves a Stadium XL.
God damn it.
Indeed.
Use a promo code free Stadium XL on the Line 6 website for no money off.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, thanks again, Igor, for being on. We greatly appreciate it. And good luck. Good luck with all that new stuff you're working on in the background.
Yeah, hopefully we can chat again.
Indeed.
Thank you much.
Yeah.